What's up, guys? Bo here again. And in this entry I want to talk about pain and suffering again, right? I've already done 2 entries about this, but I wanted to talk about it with in the context that I've provided in the previous 2 entries about, lying, the fight, and that kind of thing. And I'm gonna kind of wrap all of this up in the next entry that I'm gonna do. But yeah, so pain and suffering, right? I've already mentioned this in the entries that I've done previously, but it's something that I think deserves another, an elaboration. This also includes the whole kind of sensitivity thing, the whole niceness thing, right? I'm also going to touch on that because it's related, right? And what this, so this, I'll start with an observation, right? And I'll tie it into pain and suffering. But there's an observation that people enjoy watching other people's misfortune, right, in society. For example, on the internet, there's trolling, there's people basically being incredibly mean to other people, insulting them, calling them all sorts of profanities and vulgarities, and for example, in a bar, if there's a fight, everyone's crowding around, there's a fight, I want to see the guy having the stuffing knocked out of him, in dramas, I want to see the character get utterly destroyed, and that kind of thing. And it's a very aggressive kind of desire to want to see other people's misfortune, right? And what this stems from is a need, basically it goes back to what I talked about with lying, and kind of hiding aspects of ourselves and kind of demonizing them, and putting other aspects on pedestals, right? And because of the stress that this creates within us, we have to find basically the other stuff that we've been suppressing, that is how we make up for it. So what I mean by this is when we find ourselves unable to fit the stereotype of perfection and attractiveness and beauty and value and power in society, then we have to find some other way to find validation for ourselves, because in that kind of scenario, we're constantly being told that we're unworthy, we're not good enough, we're not attractive enough, we're not valuable enough, we're not popular enough, that kind of thing. So basically, we balance this out by, the aggressive way that we do it is we find fault in other people, right? And we try to tear them down and bring them to our level, right? And what this stems from ultimately is a need for connection, right? The whole kind of the necessity for significance, that ultimately ties into a need for connection, right? It is an aggressive shadow form of the need for connection, but ultimately that's what it is, right? Pain and suffering is about connection. Pain and suffering, I mentioned this, I'm sure, in a previous entry, is basically there to connect us, right? Believe it or not, pain and suffering is one of our biggest connections, connection points, right? But we don't see that, funnily enough, we don't see that in society, because we've the way that society is, it's all about kind of who's better, who has the money, who has the power, who has the influence, who has the value. And it's socially acceptable to worship these people and to be in their camp, right? Football just came to mind, supporting the teams, that kind of thing. But supporting your team and that kind of thing. But when we bond the strongest is when we talk about, you know, our pain, when we reach a common ground with, like, you know, the way with our pain and suffering and our vulnerability, our weakness, right? Our weakness is what ties us together, right? But it's just that the way that society is, like, that's become like very kind of aggressive and impure, basically. And the way that we like, you know, the socially acceptable way is to kind of like communally kind of point fingers at and gawk and laugh at and, you know, that kind of thing at other people, you know. That's like kind of socially acceptable way. But we hold our weakness to ourselves, right? And this is where like the kind of niceness thing comes in. Like, there is a good thing to niceness, but like but not like the form of niceness that's kind of very like just it's very manipulative, because, you know, there is an aspect of niceness that's very manipulative. You know, we manipulate each other. Like, basically, you know, when you're nice to someone in order for them to like to give you favor. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not talking about that aspect. I'm talking about the aspect that's very kind of willing to take the butt of the joke is you could say that. Like, willing to be the you know, the one that is the lowest one in the group, willing to be the first one to express vulnerability and weakness, willing to be the one who you know, sacrifices themselves a bit, like for the good of the group, like their self-image, you know, that kind of thing, their self-esteem, right? And obviously that's not good, right? Obviously when we kind of self-sacrifice, you know, because that's never resourceful. But there's something to be said about the willingness to you know, to reveal one's weakness, to be laughed at, you know, to be someone who makes everyone else feel comfortable by being the one who gives them permission. Because when you're nice, you give other people permission to feel comfortable about themselves, right? That's the value that you provide as a nice person. And that is completely underestimated in society. Because, you know, like I said, society is all about being cool and like amazing and like popular and stuff like that, right? Being strong, you know. But there's something to be said about, you know, being someone who is strong enough. Because believe it or not, like, it does require strength at times, right? Obviously, when you're a nice person, like, it tends to come more naturally than someone who's like more kind of insecure and guarded, and, you know, more, because like with strong people, like with the really successful people, like really kind of strong people, like on the surface, like, they tend to be more insecure about their own weaknesses, right? That's why they're so driven to be like successful and powerful and popular and that kind of thing. So yeah, you know, yeah, hopefully this gives you a bit of perspective, like, with, you know, to be, you know, in terms of like being a nice person and the value that you have, as opposed to like, you know, it just being like, you know, a complete weakness. It is not a weakness, right? It is a weakness, but like, how do we perceive? It's about how we perceive weakness, right? We perceive weakness as ugly, as unacceptable, right? But again, this goes back to presence, right? You know, when we do that, we've like separated a side of ourselves, and we've also, you know, separated other people. You know, like when we judge other people in this way, we judge ourselves, right? And vice versa. So there is something to be said about someone who has the courage and strength, right? Because there comes a point where, like, when you do it consciously, that's like next level, right? When you do it consciously, when you're the first person to just be, a klutz, you know, be someone who says like stupid things, says the obvious thing, just like does the thing that is uncool, you know, that is that is weak, you know, like it, but yeah, but this is very subtle, right? It's like you can do something that is viewed as weakness, right? So you can like say something to someone. So for example, like you can own up to your kind of mistakes to someone else. That might be seen as weak, right? But ironically, that actually takes a lot of strength to do, right? To be the first person to do something like that and be embarrassed potentially, or be called by other people as like weak, or like seen as other people as weak potentially, right? That takes a lot of strength. But that's not true weakness. That is the strength to be, you know. Yeah, that is actually true strength, right? But like the true weakness is like the weakness that is not good is yeah, it is basically kind of ironically, again, you know, like kind of following the trend, like not, yeah. So it's like kind of topsy-turvy. Like, do you see that like the person who is authentic and like reveals his weaknesses, particularly if they do it to like bring other people up, right? That takes a lot of strength and like maturity. Oh, I gotta move. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish this off real quick because there's someone like wanting to be in my space. But yeah, so basically, in summary, right, in summary, pain and suffering are there to basically connect us, right? It's not about yeah, sorry, this guy behind me, he wants to kind of move in, so I'm gonna have to finish this real quick. But like, hopefully that's been helpful, and I see you guys in the next entry. Peace.